Paper promises. The bell above the door chimed softly as Olivia Reed flipped the sign to closed. Watermarks stained the vintage wallpaper. Climbing 3 feet up the walls of Wildflower Haven, her grandmother's flower shop. 6 weeks after the flood, the insurance company had delivered their verdict. Claim denied due to act of God provisions. Olivia pressed her forehead against the cool glass of the refrigerated display case, now empty and dark. 28 years old, with a botany degree and a talent for floral arrangements that once made brides weep with joy, and here she stood, on the precipice of losing everything her grandmother had built over 40 years. "Miss Reed?" A deep voice startled her from behind. She turned to find a tall figure silhouetted in the doorway. Despite the closed sign, he'd entered silently. As he stepped into the light, Olivia recognized him instantly. Nathaniel Blackwood, CEO of Blackwood Industries. His face had graced the cover of Business Elite just last month. "We're closed," she said, suddenly conscious of her dirt-stained apron and the wisps of auburn hair escaping her braid. "I'm aware." He surveyed the shop with calculating eyes the color of burnished amber. "I have a proposition for you." Olivia folded her arms across her chest. "Unless you're looking to buy several $1,000s worth of salvageable orchids, Mr. Blackwood, I'm not interested." The corner of his mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. "Actually, I'm prepared to offer substantially more than that." He placed a sleek leather portfolio on the counter between them. $2 million to be precise. The room seemed to tilt sideways. "Excuse me. I need a partner. A convincing one. For 6 months." His voice remained perfectly modulated, as if discussing the weather rather than proposing something outrageous. "My grandfather is dying. He controls a significant portion of Blackwood Industries through a family trust with unusual stipulations." Olivia narrowed her eyes. "What kind of stipulations?" "The kind that require me to be in a committed relationship before my 35th birthday to access my full inheritance." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "My birthday is next week. And you can't find someone willing to date you despite your—" She gestured vaguely at his tailored suit and undeniable attractiveness. "Everything." "I don't date, Miss Reed, ever. Relationships are inefficient distractions." He slid the portfolio closer to her. "What I need is a business arrangement. You pretend to be devoted to me for 6 months. Attend functions. Meet my grandfather. Convince him this is real." "Why me?" Olivia asked, suspicion creeping into her voice. "Your flower shop is precisely 3 blocks from my grandfather's estate. He's seen you delivering arrangements for years. He already thinks you're delightful. His word, not mine." Nathaniel's expression remained impassive. "Plus, your financial situation makes you an ideal candidate." Heat rushed to her cheeks. "You investigated me?" "I investigate everyone who might affect my business interests." Olivia opened the portfolio. Inside was a contract that made her heart race, clause after clause outlining a false relationship. Complete with a non-disclosure agreement and payment schedule, $2 million, she whispered, thinking of her grandmother's medical bills, the shop's mortgage, the employees she'd had to let go. "Plus immediate restoration of your shop," Nathaniel added, as if sensing her hesitation. "Consider it a signing bonus." Outside, rain began to fall again, pattering against the windows like a warning. "What would I have to do?" she asked quietly. "Act like you're madly in love with me. Nothing physical required beyond holding hands and the occasional public display of affection." His eyes met hers. "But you'll need to be convincing." Olivia thought of her grandmother, now living in the small apartment above the shop, still believing the business would recover. When would this start? Her voice trembled slightly. "Tonight, there's a charity gala. My grandfather will be there." Nathaniel checked his watch. "You have 4 hours to prepare." The contract lay between them like a lifeline she was afraid to grasp. "Your shop will be fully operational by Monday," he promised. "All you have to do is sign." With shaking fingers, Olivia picked up the pen. For a fleeting moment, she could have sworn she saw something like relief flash across Nathaniel's face. But it was gone so quickly, she thought she must have imagined it. She signed her name. not knowing that with each stroke of the pen, she was changing not just her fate, but his as well. Thorns and Roses. The Blackwood Foundation Gala transformed the Metropolitan Museum's sculpture garden into a wonderland of crystal and candlelight. Olivia stood at the entrance, barely recognizing herself in the midnight blue gown Nathaniel had sent over, along with a professional stylist who had tamed her wild curls into an elegant updo. "Remember," Nathaniel murmured against her ear as they prepared to descend the grand staircase. "We met when you delivered flowers to my office. 3 months ago. You spilled water on my Armani suit and I asked you to dinner instead of sending you a cleaning bill." "How romantic," Olivia whispered back, her smile fixed in place. "You certainly have a way with fiction. Careful with that sharp tongue, darling. People are watching." His hand settled at the small of her back, warm through the thin fabric of her dress. "My grandfather is by the fountain. Follow my lead." What Olivia hadn't expected was the immediate electricity that shot through her when Nathaniel's fingers intertwined with hers. Nor was she prepared for the transformation that overtook him as they approached a distinguished elderly man seated in a wheelchair. Nathaniel's perpetual scowl softened, and something almost tender flickered in his eyes. "Grandfather," he said, his voice gentler than Olivia had yet heard it, "I'd like you to meet Olivia Reed." Harrison Blackwood was nothing like the ruthless tycoon Olivia had imagined. His eyes, the same striking amber as Nathaniel's, crinkled at the corners when he smiled up at her, and he immediately captured her hand between both of his. "So you're the florist who's managed to distract my grandson from his spreadsheets," he said with a wink. "I've admired your arrangements for years. You have an artist's touch with flowers." "Thank you, Mr. Blackwood," Olivia replied, genuinely touched. "Please, call me Harrison. Anyone who puts that look in my grandson's eyes has earned the right." Olivia glanced sideways to find Nathaniel watching her with an intensity that made her heart stumble. For a moment, she almost believed the charade herself. The evening unfolded in a blur of introductions and champagne flutes. Nathaniel maintained physical contact with her throughout, a hand at her waist, fingers brushing her shoulder. Even a kiss pressed to her temple when his business associate Roman Devereaux approached. "Never thought I'd see the day," Devereaux commented, eyeing Olivia appreciatively. "Nathaniel Blackwood taken down by Cupid's arrow. The office betting pool had you dying alone with only your accountant for company." "Perhaps I simply needed the right incentive," Nathaniel replied smoothly, drawing Olivia closer. Later, as they danced beneath the stars, Olivia finally asked the question that had been burning in her mind all evening. "Why is your grandfather's approval so important?" "You don't seem like someone who cares much about others' opinions." Nathaniel's steps faltered almost imperceptibly. "My parents died when I was 8. Car accident. My grandfather raised me." "I'm sorry," Olivia said softly. "Don't be. He gave me everything. Education, opportunities, a place in his company." "Everything except approval?" she guessed. His eyes darkened. "My grandfather believes business should serve a greater purpose. I believe in profit. It's a fundamental disagreement. And you think pretending to be in love will bridge that gap? I think securing my inheritance will ensure Blackwood Industries survives another generation," he countered. "My grandfather is a romantic who believes love transforms people. I'm simply using that belief to my advantage." The music ended, and Nathaniel guided her toward the terrace doors. "We've made enough of an appearance. The car will take you home now." "That's it?" Olivia asked, surprised. "That's it for tonight. Tomorrow, we begin phase 2. He handed her a small velvet box. "Wear this. We're having lunch at my grandfather's estate." Inside was an engagement ring, a stunning emerald surrounded by diamonds. "Isn't this moving rather fast?" "Time is a luxury I don't have." For a moment, something vulnerable flickered across his features. "My grandfather has 6 months, maybe less. The doctors are certain." As the sleek black car carried her back to her tiny apartment above the flower shop, Olivia couldn't help but feel the first prickle of doubt. She had signed a contract to deceive a dying man, one whose kind eyes had lit up at the thought of his grandson finally finding happiness. The next morning, Olivia arrived at her shop to find a team of workers already inside. New refrigeration units were being installed. Fresh paint covered the water-damaged walls, and boxes of exotic blooms lined the sidewalk. Miss Reed, Nathaniel's assistant, a perfectly poised woman named Vivian, approached with a tablet. Mr. Blackwood requested your approval on these selections. The shop will be fully operational by tomorrow morning as promised. Stunned, Olivia wandered through the transformed space. Everything was exactly as she would have chosen herself, better even. The craftsmanship was impeccable, the flowers were premium quality, and there was even a new design table with state-of-the-art equipment. When Nathaniel called to confirm their lunch plans, she couldn't help but ask, "How did you know exactly what the shop needed?" A pause then. "I pay attention to details. It's what makes me successful." What he didn't say, what Olivia would discover weeks later, was that he had visited the shop multiple times before approaching her, watching from across the street as she worked late into the night, trying to salvage what remained of her grandmother's legacy. Blooming Truths 3 weeks into their arrangement, the boundaries between pretense and reality began to blur. Their public appearances became frequent: charity events, business dinners, weekend brunches at Harrison's estate. Each time, Nathaniel played his role with increasing conviction, his touch lingering longer than necessary, his gaze following her movements when he thought no one was watching. The flower shop flourished under renewed attention. Regular customers returned, delighted by its resurrection, and new clients flocked in, curious about the woman rumored to have captured Nathaniel Blackwood's heart. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, Olivia was arranging a wedding centerpiece when the shop bell chimed. Looking up, she was startled to find Nathaniel standing there, water dripping from his coat. "Is something wrong?" she asked, setting down her shears. "No." He seemed uncharacteristically hesitant. "I was nearby. Thought I'd check on the shop's progress." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Your office is downtown." "That's hardly nearby." A flush crept up his neck. "I had a meeting in the area." "Of course." She smiled, not believing him for a second. "Well, since you're here, you can make yourself useful." She handed him a stack of ribbon spools. "Hold these while I finish this arrangement." To her astonishment, he complied without protest. They worked in comfortable silence for nearly an hour, Olivia creating and Nathaniel assisting, their movements falling into an unexpected rhythm. "You're good at this," he commented as she completed a particularly complex design. "So are you," she replied, surprised by how naturally he had adapted to her process. "Not what I expected from a corporate shark." Something like pain flashed across his face. "Is that how you see me?" Olivia considered him thoughtfully. "I'm not sure anymore." That evening, he invited her to dinner at his penthouse. To discuss strategy, he claimed. But when she arrived, she found not a business meeting but an intimate table set on his terrace, overlooking the city lights. "What is this?" she asked, confused by the candles and the personal chef who discreetly disappeared after serving their meal. "My grandfather has spies everywhere," Nathaniel explained, not quite meeting her eyes. "We need to be convincing at all times." But there were no spies that night, no audience for their performance. Just two people discovering common ground in their shared love of old films, their similar taste in music, their mutual experience of loss. Olivia's parents had also died young, leaving her grandmother to raise her. As weeks stretched into months, these private moments multiplied. Nathaniel began appearing at the flower shop regularly, sometimes to take her to lunch, other times simply to sit quietly in the corner with his laptop while she worked. He helped her deliver arrangements to the children's hospital, watching with undisguised fascination as she taught the young patients how to make daisy chains. "Why do you do this?" he asked afterward as they walked through the hospital gardens. "The free workshops for kids, the donations to nursing homes. Your profit margin would be higher without them." Olivia plucked a wildflower from beside the path. "Some things matter more than profit margins, Nathaniel." "Like what?" "Like making someone's day a little brighter. Like knowing that flowers from our shop were the last beautiful thing someone saw before they died." She twirled the flower between her fingers. "My grandmother always said we're not just selling flowers, we're selling moments of joy in a world that desperately needs them." That night, Nathaniel called his financial director and established a permanent endowment for the Children's Hospital's art therapy program. He told himself it was for appearance's sake that Harrison would approve, but deep down, he knew the truth. The genuine smile that lit Olivia's face when she learned of his donation was worth more than any business acquisition. Meanwhile, Harrison Blackwood watched the relationship unfold with knowing eyes. He invited them for weekend visits, insisted Olivia call him Grandpa Harry, and regaled her with stories of Nathaniel's childhood that made the stoic businessman squirm with embarrassment. He used to rescue injured birds, Harrison confided one afternoon as they sat in his garden. Kept them in shoeboxes under his bed. The maids were terrified, but I couldn't bear to stop him. It was the only time he showed any emotion after his parents died. Olivia glanced across the lawn to where Nathaniel stood, phone pressed to his ear, shoulders tense with some business emergency. What happened to that boy? Harrison's eyes clouded. I did. I thought I was teaching him to be strong, to survive in a cutthroat world. Instead, I taught him to bury his heart so deep, even he can't find it anymore. He patted Olivia's hand. Until you came along. Winterfrost 5 months into their contract, disaster struck. Harrison suffered a minor heart attack, sending Nathaniel into a tailspin of fear and regret. Olivia found him in the hospital corridor at 3 in the morning, tie loosened, hair disheveled, eyes hollow with exhaustion. Without a word, she sat beside him and took his hand. They remained that way until dawn broke, neither speaking, both drawing strength from the simple human connection. When Harrison stabilized, his first request was to see them together. Life's too short, he said weakly from his hospital bed. Don't wait, Nathaniel. Marry this girl while I'm still here to see it. The panic in Nathaniel's eyes was unmistakable. Later, in the privacy of his car, he paced beside the vehicle while Olivia watched through the window. We need to end this, he said abruptly when he finally slid into the driver's seat. The risk is too great. What risk? Olivia asked, confused by his sudden change of heart. He wants a wedding. That wasn't part of our agreement. So we adjust the agreement. Isn't that what business people do? Renegotiate terms? Nathaniel's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. You don't understand. If we go through with this, if we actually... He couldn't seem to finish the thought. If we actually what, Nathaniel? He turned to her, his expression raw with an emotion she couldn't name. This was supposed to be simple, a business transaction. But now what? Now I can't tell where the act ends and reality begins, he admitted, the words torn from him. And that terrifies me. Before Olivia could respond, his phone rang, Vivienne calling with news that would shatter everything. Roman Devereaux had discovered their arrangement and was threatening exposure unless Nathaniel sold him controlling interest in a valuable Blackwood subsidiary. Worse, he had evidence. A recorded conversation between Nathaniel and his lawyer from the day before he approached Olivia, discussing the contract in explicit detail. You planned this for months, Olivia realized when Nathaniel finally told her. You watched me struggle, waited until I was desperate enough to accept any offer. It wasn't like that, he insisted. But the guilty flush spreading across his features told another story. Did you cause the insurance claim to be denied? She asked suddenly, the pieces falling into place. Did you orchestrate my financial ruin to ensure I'd agree to your proposition? His silence was answer enough. Olivia felt physically ill. Take me home. Now. That night, as snow began to fall over the city, Olivia packed away the designer clothes he'd given her, removed the emerald ring from her finger, and placed both in a box with the contract. Everything had been a lie. Even the restoration of her shop was built on deception. Across town, Nathaniel sat in his darkened office, a glass of whiskey untouched before him. On his desk lay the dossier his investigators had compiled on Olivia Reed, her financial records, her daily routines, her grandmother's medical history. Beside it was a smaller file, one even Vivienne didn't know existed, containing photographs of Olivia working in her shop, her face animated as she instructed children in the art of flower arranging, her smile radiant as she delivered bouquets to the elderly. He had told himself it was thorough business practice. Now he recognized it for what it was, the beginning of an obsession. His phone buzzed with a text from Harrison's night nurse. "He's asking for you both. Says it's important." When Nathaniel arrived at the estate, he was surprised to find Olivia already there, seated at his grandfather's bedside. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her posture rigid with anger. "Ah, there you are," Harrison said weakly. "I've been having a most illuminating conversation with your fiancé." Nathaniel froze. "Grandfather," she told me everything. Harrison's voice was quiet but steady. "About your arrangement. About why you really sought my approval." Shame burned through Nathaniel's chest. "I can explain." "No need. I've known from the beginning." "What?" Both Nathaniel and Olivia spoke in unison. Harrison's weathered face creased with a sad smile. "Did you really think I wouldn't investigate the sudden appearance of a woman in your life after decades of solitude?" "I may be old, Nathaniel, but I'm not a fool." "Then why?" Nathaniel couldn't finish the question. "Why play along?" Harrison sighed. "Because I hoped that in pretending to love someone, you might remember how to actually do it." His gaze shifted to Olivia, and I believe I was right. Spring's promise. 3 weeks passed without communication. Olivia threw herself into work, rebuilding her business on her own terms this time. She declined the settlement Nathaniel's lawyers offered, returned the engagement ring, and sold the designer clothes to fund a new community program teaching flower arranging to at-risk youth. She refused to think about him, about the way his eyes had softened when he thought no one was watching, or how his hand had sought hers instinctively in moments of quiet. Those memories belonged to a fiction, a performance crafted to deceive a dying man. Except Harrison wasn't dying, at least not immediately. His doctors reported a surprising improvement following his heart attack, attributing it to his determination to see how this particular story ends, as he put it. On the first day of spring, as Olivia prepared for the grand reopening of Wildflower Haven, a familiar figure appeared outside the shop. Nathaniel stood on the sidewalk, no designer suit in sight, dressed instead in jeans and a simple button-down shirt. In his arms was a potted tree, a young cherry blossom, its branches heavy with delicate pink blooms. Olivia hesitated, then opened the door. "We're not open until tomorrow." "I know." He shifted the tree awkwardly. "This isn't a business call." "Then what is it?" "An apology. And a proposition. A different one this time." He set the tree down carefully. Japanese cherry blossoms symbolize the ephemeral nature of life. How beautiful things can be fleeting, but still matter. Despite herself, Olivia was touched by the thoughtfulness of the gift. "That's surprisingly poetic coming from you. I've been reading. A lot. Poetry, philosophy, even those romance novels my grandfather keeps sending me." His attempt at a smile faltered. "I've been trying to understand what happened between us." "Nothing happened between us, Nathaniel. It was all pretend, remember?" "Was it?" He stepped closer. "Because I've replayed every moment in my mind and I can't find the line anymore. When did I stop acting? When did you?" Olivia wrapped her arms around herself protectively. "It doesn't matter. You manipulated me from the beginning. You created a situation where I had no choice but to accept your offer." "I know." His voice broke. "And I will regret that for the rest of my life. But I need you to understand something. I chose you long before that flood damaged your shop." "What are you talking about?" "I first saw you 2 years ago delivering flowers to a corporate event. You argued with the event planner because he wanted to replace your wildflower arrangements with standard roses. You told him, and I quote, 'If you want soulless perfection, hire a robot. If you want beauty that makes people feel something, stick with my flowers.'" Olivia remembered that day. "You weren't even there." "I was. Standing in the corner, watching you defend your art with more passion than I'd ever felt for anything." His eyes met hers, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen before. "I started finding reasons to attend events where you provided flowers. I convinced my grandfather to order weekly arrangements from your shop. I even scheduled business lunches at the cafe across from Wildflower Haven just so I could watch you work." "That's..." Olivia searched for the right word. "Disturbing, actually." A startled laugh escaped him. "Yes, I suppose it is. My therapist certainly thinks so." "You're seeing a therapist?" 3 times a week. Grandfather's orders. His expression sobered. He says I need to learn how to be human again before I can learn how to love properly. Olivia's defenses wavered. And do you? Want to love properly? I want to try. With you. He reached into his pocket and withdrew a small envelope. No contracts this time. Just this. Inside was a hand-drawn map leading to a small cottage on the edge of Harrison's estate. What is this? My grandfather is converting part of his land into a botanical garden. He needs someone to design it, to bring it to life. Someone who understands that flowers are more than decorations. They're moments of joy in a world that desperately needs them. Hope flickered in Olivia's chest, but caution tempered it. And what about you? What do you want? A second chance. Not as Nathaniel Blackwood, CEO, just as Nathaniel, the man who still rescues injured birds and keeps them in shoeboxes when no one's looking. That was 30 years ago, she reminded him. 27 years, he corrected with a ghost of a smile. And I found another one last week. A starling with a broken wing. It's recovering in my guest bathroom as we speak. Olivia felt the last of her resistance crumbling. I don't trust you. I know. I haven't earned it yet. He reached out slowly, telegraphing his movement, and touched her cheek with gentle fingers. But I'd like the chance to try. Later that evening, as cherry blossom petals drifted on the spring breeze, Olivia sat with Harrison in his garden, discussing plans for the botanical sanctuary that would become his legacy. He's trying, you know, the old man said, watching his grandson across the lawn, awkwardly attempting to plant a sapling under the gardener's direction. Dissolved 3 of his most profitable subsidiaries last week because their manufacturing practices were environmentally unsound. The board nearly had a collective stroke. Olivia's eyes widened. He didn't tell me that. He wouldn't. He's terrified of appearing to manipulate you again. Harrison's weathered hand covered hers. Love doesn't transform people overnight, my dear, but it gives them reason to transform themselves day by day, choice by choice. I haven't said I love him, Olivia protested. Harrison's eyes twinkled. Haven't you? 6 months later, on a perfect autumn day, Olivia stood in a grove of cherry trees, now leafy and green, their spring blossoms long gone, but their promise enduring. Before her stood Nathaniel, his amber eyes clear and certain in a way they had never been during their false engagement. No contracts, he vowed, taking her hands in his. No pretense. Just this. I choose you, Olivia Reed. Not for appearances or inheritance, but because you taught me that the most valuable things in life can't be bought, sold, or controlled. They can only be cherished. As she rose on tiptoe to seal their vows with a kiss, a real one this time, cherry blossom petals drifted down around them. Out of season and impossible, yet undeniably real. Harrison, watching from his wheelchair, smiled knowingly. He'd had the groundskeepers install special fans in the trees that morning, releasing the dried petals he'd collected all spring for this moment. Some might call it manipulation. He preferred to think of it as setting the stage for magic to unfold on its own. After all, the best business deals were the ones where everyone got exactly what they truly needed, even when they didn't know they needed it.